guest, Coach Mistress. Melissa is the daughter of my first cousin. She's the grandniece of my mother. And what is considered in some cultures, she's my niece. Melissa, age 23, died in a car accident on October 13th. She died in a car crash when I was visiting her near her home outside of London, England. In a notice posted on October 14th by the BBC News by her immediate family, it stated that Melissa enjoyed very spirited friendships, touched the hearts of many, and brought much love to many people she knew and encountered during her life cut short. She will be sadly missed by her many friends and family. Melissa came to stay with me in the summer of 2008 when I was living in Chicago. A year prior to her visit, I had realized that my family was shrinking. I had lost my brother when I was 19 years old, and my sister, who was married, chose not to have children. And several years prior to that, she had essentially estranged herself from our family. So I had gone to England, where my cousins for the most part were raised, to befriend my first cousin in a way that created a brotherly bond, rather than as a first cousin across the Atlantic Ocean. And although I had met Melissa several times prior to that visit, it was at that visit I connected with my first cousin's daughter, Melissa. I had invited her to come to the United States and stay with me. In 2008, Melissa was struggling. She was trying to find her way in the world. She was 19. She was book smart, but in the classroom, she was like a fish out of water. She didn't want to go to college. She was working at Tesco's, which is equivalent to like a CVS or a Target. She was like a butterfly in a cocoon, a deeply talented woman who was restricted and not likely to get promoted in that role. And like a typical brazen Brit, at age 19, she had taken thirst to beer. So her father called me in the summer of 2008 and said, Melissa needs a change in scenery. And we agreed she would come and stay with me for the month of August. And when I realized that I would soon be an adoptive parent of a teenager, I called all of my friends who have teenagers and asked them for their advice. Well, a friend of mine warned, if you give a teenager a finger, they'll take your whole arm. Thanks. But in the end, Melissa was a very pleasant teenager. She didn't have that volatility. She followed my rules. Melissa, you're not allowed to smoke in the apartment. Okay. Melissa, I'm not buying you beer. It's illegal for me to buy you beer in this country. Okay, I'll do it at my own risk. She was mischievous. She managed to charm the cashier at 7-Eleven across the street from my apartment into thinking she was actually over age 21. But she was mannered. She was coy, yet courageous. She was idiosyncratic. She had her piercings, her tattoos, gelled hair, yet intimate. She was like a chameleon who could adapt to any environment that came at her. If Melissa were here today, I promise you she would stand up very nonchalantly, say she's a guest, probably say she's here because of me, and quietly sit through the meeting, not say anything, but observing who might be sort of an outcast like her, and who has a warm, loving heart. After post-toasties, she'd be drunk. And she'd be laughing and smiling, and BFFs with just about everyone. In 2008, Melissa and I shared a lot of experiences. We painted a wall red. For those of you who know, red paint is very difficult to put nicely onto a wall. And we had it down. She was such a great worker, and she said to me after 2 coats, "You know, I really think the wall is just great the way it is. Let's just leave it." And of course I insisted, "No, we got to put a 3rd coat on. That's what the paint man said at the paint store." And halfway through putting up the red paint, we ran out of paint. So now I have a red wall with 2 different shades of red. We shared a lot of stories. I shared with her how I lost my brother when I was 19. She shared with me how devastated she would be if she were to ever lose her sister, 2 years younger. We did dancing, dance through the night. We met at museums. We met at musical fests. We bicycled the Chicago lakefront path. I will miss being Melissa's guide and her trusted advisor. I will miss helping her find her pride and her passion. In Melissa's short life, she taught me that we can extend our families. That even a first cousin of your father can be met with familial faith, with total trust, with abundant affection. May Melissa rest in peace.